Want to help Keyforge get better? Here's your chance. GG is hiring. Let's talk about it this week on Archons Corner.
I'm king of the class, of the class. I get lifted.
If you like the episode, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Archons Corner. Don't forget, patrons always listen ad-free and get a bunch of your other perks as well. You can find all Archons Corner merch at Spreadshirt.com. Links in the description below.
I'm alive to fly higher than angels and outfields inside of my mind. I'm ascending these ladders. I'm climbing, say goodbye this whole world, this whole world. And when I fall to rise with stardust in my eyes in the back.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined here by the normal cast of Misfits. We got our resident PhD and president of AABD, Dr. Sheep.
That's right. I'm here.
I had to get that out first, Z. I'm sorry. I didn't know if I could get all of that out first. Then we got Z.
Hey.
We got the Choke Show.
Hey guys, Drazcor's here.
Drazcor's here. His Choke Show. And we got Ewok.
Hello, Keyforge community. Great to be here.
So it's been a rather quiet week.
We got news.
I mean, a little bit.
Sounds like news to me.
I mean, little bit of news, but we need to go into our titular segment. Why I suck at Keyforge. Sheep, I'm told you have a why I suck at Keyforge moment.
Well, I just suck in general, but I lost again in ABR. I keep losing. And this one I lost because they have run 3 Amber Control as their jank format for too long, and people have started collecting and curating decks just for a jank format, which means it's no longer a jank format.
Now it's meta.
Yes.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's definitely folks on my teams like, hey guys, I bought these decks, and then we're like, woo, we're going through them. Like, I definitely have a couple I picked out from my collection over the last couple of years where I'm like,
But I don't mind low Amber Control as a thing. What I am finding I am disliking more and more in SAS Cap or anything where you use a single number is when you use that number too many times in a row, it becomes standard. And now, like, people can specifically select decks for exactly that. So, like, my opinion on SAS Cap is, like, you want to play 75, I'm okay with that, but, like, do 75 plus or minus 3 or something, right? So it changes sometimes. So it's not always the same deck, so you can't shop for single things that are for this very specific event that some people like to run again and again. And that's why I don't like 75, because it's been run too much. And also now, like, they have in ABR, they have run 3 Amber Control the past several events.
I mean, I think the reason for that is because it is somewhat fun to play that as a janky one.
It is, but now, like I said, there are certain things that just show up constantly, or like I said, people are specifically investing into something that isn't a real thing.
Do you mean that Ewok's Heart of the Forest, which does really, really well with this jank under 3 Amber shows up? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. A lot of people have their less than 3 deck now.
I will give a huge shout out, since I played my game earlier. A good friend who I had not met before, so always looking for a new friend, was Daruk. And Daruk went ahead and threw out a really nice 77 MM deck. Bounced early, and I will tell you that this game was a lot of fun. But the highlight for me came that he had Gorm of Worm and some Captured Amber. So not much. But I was in this spot where both of my Nep seeds were stuck in the bottom 7 cards. And that's where I was at. And he had Punk. So he had Punk and he had Gorm of Worm. I get hard out.
What's
it goes
Punk?
ahead and delays. Oh, I don't know. What is Punk?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Never heard of her.
Never
I
heard
think
of it.
you take all the cards on the table, mix them up, and deal them out at random to each other.
Is it just you flip the table? It's just a table
Punctuated
flip.
equilibrium.
That's right.
Oh,
Both players
that card.
discard their hands, draw a new hand. That's basically.
You don't shuffle them back in.
Oh, see, maybe
unless you're
that would
unless
have
you're
helped
facing
me.
X-ray.
Oh
then
wait,
you
you
definitely do
take
that.
your discard, you flip it on top of your deck, and you draw from there.
That's a different card. Different card.
So I Trumbull is what I had played. Typically, it likes to have the logos with the double lab work and more or less the memory chip. That was pretty well late, so that didn't help. But both of those NEP seeds are really important if you do face a little bit of amber control, just to be able to kind of play around it. It allows Hart to be able to come back. And in this case, I knew that he still had Punk left. He's looking at about 7 cards. And so it's a pretty high probability. I take the turn. I did get Hart. I play it out. But I have still both of the NEP seeds, which haven't been there. So I know it's going to get Gorms immediately. And that was the right call. But the problem is that we're both at the end of the cycle. So I get my NEP seed and it pops. So one NEP seed is gone. The other NEP seed comes in my hand. Hart is back and then cycled back in. So timing is another really, really important piece that I would highly recommend. That's a way to be able to play around Hart, and saw it. There wasn't much I could do. I had the first key, second key went ahead and we were good with. But he had Amber. My only Amber control is Mars needs Amber. And it was on the 2 creatures, but I refused to play anything else. So he actually went through his deck pretty quick in order to wipe his board, throwing the Amber back to me. And he thought that was the end of the game. However, with Nepseed and Full Moon, that is Full Moon, Nepseed, Full Moon, creature, and I'm already up above 7. But the thing that happened is I did not cycle back into my one and only Chota. And so I did not archive Chota. I just didn't see any of the archive cards early enough. So I took a big loss this week, guys. And that deck has not lost, especially at this format, in quite a while. So I like something funny, but something different. But I do agree with Sheep that I think if we put plus or -3, that can go ahead and impact SAS scores. If you want to put plus or minus, I don't know, a couple Amber control, that would be something different to
Wait, so when they
just keep you on your toes.
I haven't played in any of the. I only played in the sealed event when things were starting to ramp back up. So when they're like 75 SAS, it has to be 75. It can't be like, well, it's 74.
75 or lower.
Yeah, it's 75 or lower.
No, I was gonna say plus or minus. Like, can't you already go lower?
You can go
But
lower.
if the cap becomes 72, you can't bring a 75.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I understand that. Yeah.
And if it becomes 77, yeah, you can still bring a 75 that you like, but it opens a few more decks. The thing is, my variant, it typically does put more value to having a huge deck collection, because then you have more choices as the numbers become miscellaneous. But like, that's kind of the point of some of these formats, is they claim, like, we're playing these formats so you don't see the same things all the time. But
Now
the
you're seeing
longer
the same
you
things all
play
the
the
time.
same thing, you do start to see the same stuff.
Well, and this did keep it new and fresh as we were in the pandemic. You could choose any of the stats, though. You could go ahead and say plus or -5 or 10 Amber control or expected Amber or printed Amber plus or -2, or your speed plus or minus a certain amount. And that would then force people to think differently too, which I think is the goal. And again, ABR is a phenomenal league. We have so many people here and it's a blast to play. But
Yeah.
that's
We're gonna do
honestly
SAS
what we
Why
can
don't
do.
we like SAS cap 60?
I like
hell,
SAS
hell,
cap, but
hell.
I keep my
Hell
low
no.
SAS decks.
I like
What's wrong?
SAS 60.
What's wrong?
The,
What's wrong with SAS cap 60?
I don't have a deck for that.
Yeah.
Well,
And I have
whoa. How many
What?
did you buy
You
for
would
the
have
fire
to-
sale?
Borrow from a teammate? Oh,
0. I bought
Horsey.
0 fire sale decks.
You
Wookie,
didn't buy
know
any
this.
fire sale decks?
I
thought you
told
did.
y'all this.
Oh,
No,
I thought you did.
not a single one. Because the game was dead at the time.
Well, it
And you
can't
know
be
what?
dead if it's here again.
Things can live again.
Okay.
Anyway, why I suck at Keyforge? Number one,
It's
I played
because you played
I played
hard.
Heart of the Forest, and number two, then I lost with it.
Yes. The you could have stopped with because you chose art.
I'm taking full embarrassment here because I did actually the best part with this too. I had no outs because he pushed the amber and he was sitting at 10, and I'm like, okay, I have no amber control. I have one out. My one out as I cycled back is to use the draw. I had Logos that was out, and it was to go ahead and use my Library of Babel to draw a card, and that card had to be Hearts because I had Helper Bot in hand. And I drew a card, and it was Heart of the Forest. So I had already listed like, oh man, you got me, I'm out. And I'm like, I have one out. Here it is, draw. And I'm like, I just redrew it. But it was good fun back and forth. He got the win in the end and played very, very well. So Daruk, well done, man.
Now, at the beginning of the season, we did have a vote, right, on what format to use for the jank. And so,
and I'm glad we went this way because I at least enjoy this. Yes, I do have 4 decks that are good for this, but it's fast and it's fun. One of the options was like bring a negative F deck. Like that does not sound fun to me. Like that, I don't want to do that.
Significantly negative, right?
Yeah, and it's not just 0. It literally had to be negative. Like it was that. I will never vote for that.
You don't enjoy slow, grindy games?
No. Hence DT, right?
I was trying to see quickly if I could figure out how many votes there were for each, but I can't find the.
Yeah, I don't remember where that
searching for
was.
it.
Yeah, I can't find it, but yeah, this definitely won out. I would like to see a little different format next time around, but I do enjoy this one. But
luckily, they do take a poll. They take a poll at the end of the season, so I think we'll add more stuff to the poll this year and just see what people want to do next season. Now that we have, because like next season, like there's only 7 like in season weeks that where we play this, and that I would like to see like Alliance and Sealed Alliance. So that right there is going to change a lot of what the regular season will be.
All right. Well, I'll go into mine. I do have one this week.
Uh-oh.
Number 1, I told Sheep I was going to play some games with him. So I've come to the conclusion, and I came to the conclusion on we did a impromptu Thanksgiving Day sealed. It was only like 4 of us. I think it was like X-Ray, me, Hater, and Sheep. And I had an okay deck, but I decided I was going to do what I normally do, and that's try to win. Well, okay, remember when we say flashy plays don't win? So for about, 6 months, maybe a year, I've been trying to play this janky style where it's lines you don't see, yada, yada, make myself uncomfortable, yada, yada, figure out. I was going to try to out-jank Lokakar, right? That was my goal.
You can't out-jank Lokakar. He is jank.
It's
He's
only
the definition of jank.
It's only taken 365 days. But I have come to the conclusion I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. Like, I tried, and nobody say I didn't try, because I tried real hard, and I just can't play jank. So I need to get back into fighting style, and get back up there. So I just can't do it. Sorry, everybody. I tried to jank. I can't jank. I just can't do it. So, that being said, lesson learned. Don't try to step outside your comfort zone. That's what I learned this week.
Duh. Like the opposite of good advice.
Very well.
Yes.
It depends. Depends.
Bad
but
advice brought to you by the Wookiee.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
Per the Wookiee, maintain status quo.
Maintain status quo at all times, and just play good things and do what you should be doing. Don't try to step too far outside the box. But we did get some fun stuff. As I'm also dying over here, I had to cut out on Sheep because my whole family has strep, which is awesome. Except for me.
You didn't just cut out on Sheep. You didn't show up when Sheep and I played WoW.
Well,
So
I told you guys I couldn't. I told you guys I couldn't show up. I fully said I have. I think I said I have inventory that day. Oh no. You guys asked for Saturday. Yeah, it's Black Friday. That's not. Black Friday weekend, like ask any retail worker. I'm busy.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be big.
I'm
You better
busy.
be there. You better be there Tuesday. In real life play is returning to Wisconsin, my friends.
So I have to rearrange my schedule. But I will try to figure out, like, I've already written the schedule out until I believe either the first or second weekend of December. So I can't change that now because that's just not fair to my assistants to be like, hey, Keyforge is coming back. Fuck all y'all. You're working Tuesday. All right, bye.
You should totally do that.
I should totally not do that. So it'll probably be a couple weeks because I've already written those schedules. Because I try to make sure that my people's, when I write the schedules for them, that they, have at least 2, and especially during the holiday times, like I'll have all of December written by the end of this week. Just because, it's the holidays. You want to plan your stuff. Retail's never-ending craziness. So I try to give them as much notice as possible so they can plan their day. But I did want to go through, we had a celebration on the Keyforge page. Because I did find a little bit of interesting information. A lot of it we already know, but the Ember we reaped. The 3-day event saw an enormous amount of matches played across all 4 tournaments, Second Ember and Unchained Duels. So much so Logos gathered the data to share with you all. Prepare to feast in the numbers. So we found out where Logos went. They are now Ghost Galaxy's little whipping people to gather data.
They're in that back room.
They're in the back. Yeah, they're in that back room
Okay.
that we saw. So
Making spreadsheets.
Alliance sealed players was 119. Archon sealed players was 38. That's a drastic change. I don't know if a lot of people just wanted to test out the new format, but only 40 people for single deck sealed.
Or get 2 decks.
That's also probable. I mean, you were getting the same amount of decks either way, but maybe not all people worked themselves through the loophole like we did.
I did try Alliance Sealed through this. Like, that is a thing that's my only time of playing Alliance.
Yep.
So did anybody really have a maybe we talked about this already, like a really good, really bad experience with Alliance? Like, I thought it was fine. I didn't think anything was crazy. Still felt Keyforge to me. The only thing that really sucked is I had to give and Dave was doing it real weird too. Like, he had torn up paper to be like, these are my 2 houses on this one, and this is my 1 house on this one. That was a little awkward to me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I went 0-2, so only played 2 games, but I still enjoy the option to try to build something out of my
why you lost.
Trash token decks.
You know why you lost?
Yeah, I lost because I got freaking Strange Shell and Bot.
No, you were already thinking about all those sweet Unchained duels. You were too far ahead,
that was
friend.
really it. Like, I had already played so much Unchained, I couldn't wait to play more.
You're like, well, I got my 2 decks. Now what? Time for more Unchained duels.
But I when in the future when we go to events, and I'm hoping they keep this format where they have the dual events like 2 days in a row, I will probably always choose Sealed Alliance regardless of how many sealed decks you get.
Even if they said
3
Archon sealed went to 3.
Yeah,
I would still choose Alliance.
Really?
I would do Archon Sealed.
Yeah, if Archon sealed went to 3, I would choose that as well.
I just like the options of what you have there, and I don't. Well, what I'm about to say, I don't think is a big worry of mine for WoW. But I have lots of memories of playing sealed AOA, in which I literally stopped going to a vault that I could have afforded because it was so miserable, even at 3 decks. I think I would have continued playing AOA in the Alliance format because, what the Alliance allows you to do,
you wouldn't
is I chose to play AOA Alliance Sealed at an event last weekend.
Nostalgia.
No, we could have chosen Worlds Collide Oreo AOA, and I wanted to choose AOA.
What is
and
Oreo?
I went. What? AOA
you said AOA Oreo.
Oops. Or Worlds Collide.
Okay.
And I chose.
I was like, which says Oreo? Did I miss one?
That's where you just put cream.
I ended up going
your
one.
AOA cards.
It's a new format for Shredder.
We're playing Oreos now. Which I
You
can't.
lick them.
Instead of fortune keys, just eat cookies. Sounds like a great game to me.
But in the end, I went 1-2. But the 2 losses were very competitive against the Worlds Collide deck, whereas that would not have been the case if I had fielded either of my AOA decks as formed. So, like, I don't think I'm ever returning to just pick one of the 3 decks in play.
All right, and then we had Alliance Standard, which had 57 people, and then we had Archon Standard, which is 86 people. Not as drastic as a jump as I thought.
I mean, I thought that was a huge showing for Alliance, especially with all of the...
No, it was. I thought this number, like, so you see Sealed Alliance 119. I mean, that's a drastic shift, right? You can see that more people. I mean, even let's just say, like, oh, it was more decks. You know, maybe if it wasn't just getting more WoW decks, we see that number come more towards 50-50. But I thought that was kind of, there was more Alliance players than I thought there would be.
Well, so the thing about this, and Sheep, I was talking to earlier, Alliance offers a little bit less of a steep entry point. There are many people who look and say, I don't have a top tier Archon competitive deck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one deck that can just actually run the course. And that window is pretty slim, to be honest. And it's a lot easier for individuals to go ahead and get pods that are in a competitive nature. And so Alliance Standard becomes a more viable option to make day 2.
Do you think that will continue to be true, right? If this becomes a for serious standard tournament type, right? Are you just raising the bar, and so folks with the buying power to buy the best pods are just as likely to do so in Alliance versus Archon Standard? Therefore, is it truly any different if people are just doing the same things in either case?
Well, I think that there are a lot of pods that can be purchased at a pretty reasonable amount. And some of the top tier competitive decks, honestly, aren't going for... I mean, Sheep was... We were talking and Sheep opened up and he's like, hey, there was this very large, high SAS AOA deck. First of all, I didn't see it as A tier, but he's like, oh yeah, it was over 500 euro. And euro right now is under $1, so we're fine. And I'm like, I wouldn't ever go ahead and spend that much money on a Keyforge deck. And it's at that point, if I'm not willing to spend the $500 on this deck, and that's not even a top tier competitive deck, there's a lot more money that certain people are willing to throw around in order to get a deck. And yet we saw Ben who came up with us, and he just played 3 pods from his own collection. He didn't have a master collection, but it put it together. I mean, he did have some nice matchups that came out for him, but he was able to make top 8 as a result of it. And sometimes it comes down to matchups. Sometimes it comes down to being able to play to the best of your ability, a combination of that. But I do see Alliance Standard as being a more viable option for someone getting into the game than straight up Archon.
I gotta agree from the math lens. Like, there's just so many pods that are like really good.
Yep.
That people will just have. It's going to take effort, time, and practice to make them.
Yep.
But if they put in the effort, time, and practice, like instead of investing like money value, and they have to switch that out for time value, I think there will always be a better shot at a player with, I don't know, X amount of decks over 100, like, because at that point you're starting to get a ton of pods, is going to be able to form a deck that could make top cut. Whereas for the first time in almost any event that I've seen, when I look at the top cut in the Archon, all 8 of those decks are legit really, really good. Like, there's no joke reason why they all made top table. No one should be surprised that any of them got that far. Whereas, like, in other events, there's always been like 1 or 2 decks. I'm like, well, that's interesting. That made it. None of the 8 decks are like that.
And I think what you're going to find there too is, the thing that CTP talked about was agency, right? Not everyone has it, but a lot of people do. That itch that needs to be scratched to create, right? And Alliance gives you the ability to scratch that itch. Maybe you do it, maybe it's not for you, and you go back. But it does allow you to scratch that itch where before it was kind of a hard cutoff. It was like, want to change your deck? Nope, can't do it. Sorry, bud. And I think that was a barrier for a lot of people who were just like, I can't do anything to it. Like, that's it. That's my deck. Yep. And they're like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Even the fact you can choose between the two events is agency. Like, during each major event, you got to choose Sealed or Sealed Alliance. You got to choose Archon or Archon Alliance. Like, that itself, which I hope we see going forward for the indefinite future, as far as like a way to play Keyforge. Like, this is like, you play the Keyforge the way you want to play it. You get to choose. If you don't like Alliance, go play the non-Alliance version. If you don't like Archon, or you think it's too high of a price grab to be competitive, go play Alliance. I really, really like that.
I do hope with the Worlds format, I guess we don't really know what the format looks like that, but I really hope, and it's something that I thought Magic always did really, really well, is, Magic has all their different formats. They have limited, standard, and then modern, and they kind of like, for the Worlds to kind of make it to that top roster bracket, you have to do well in all of them. Like, you can't just be like, I'm really, really good at standard, so that's all I play. There's no world champion in standard. Now, this doesn't exist anymore for Magic, but like, you had to be well versed in their limit. You had to be good at draft. You had to be good at standard. You had to be good at modern. Like, you couldn't just be good at one and be like, yay, and that it would rotate. You had to be good at all of them. So I hope we see something similar to that, but we'll find out.
And Fab kind of does that too. Like, right now at their major events, you kind of go through the gambit of the three formats that they offer to win their nationals or whatever they call it. Their Pro Quest thing.
But total,
you have to be good at everything.
Right. Total tournament matches played 585. Total keys forged 2,438. Total mulligans. This is one I always find funny. 480. So there's almost one mulligan per game. Almost. Games where both players took a mulligan. 111. And this is the stat that really kind of, I guess, stood out to me. Games decided by tiebreakers. 17.
So meaning how many went to time?
Right. How many went to time? So
That's pretty low.
Right. So out of 585 games, only 17 went to time.
Mm-hmm. And that's with all of them being 45 minutes. If they had been the 35-minute Archon games, some of those Archon games would have gone to time back in the day with the old time rules.
So does that mean we just stretched it and made going to time
rare?
Like, I mean, that's 3%. 2.905% of games went to time.
And I wish we had it by format. Like, if all 17 of those games are unsealed, like, I think
it tells you
if stretching the time thing means that there were basically no timed Archon games, it was worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Any Archon game that goes to time is just bad feels almost always. I know Sealed's going to go to time sometimes, because especially with just card familiarity, some people take a long time to learn a new deck, so it's just going to be an inevitable thing. But, like, I would have loved to have seen that number based on whether they were Archon or Sealed games.
So then they break it down a little further. Game decided by most keys forged, which is step 1. 9. Decided by most remaining Ember. 7. Decided by fewest chains. None. Decided by most creatures in play. 1. And decided by who went first. 0.
Cool.
I found that.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right? Because it's really only the 1 decided by most creatures in play that at that point you're really starting to feel arbitrary.
Right.
Like, Keys Forged is pretty obvious. Like, Ember's like, okay, yeah. But then, yeah. Once you get to chains or creatures in play, you're like, it's just sort of whatever.
Most players are okay with losing at step 1 and step 2 in the tiebreaker rules, which means 16 out of 17. Most people were probably okay with how the game came to a close.
Right.
Whereas that one match was probably not happy for somebody.
Right. Fun facts: most remaining chains at the end of a match, 17, which was J Power. Most keys forged, 48, was Nova.
That's because they didn't include Unchained keys.
Oh, got it.
Because I forged more Unchained keys than that.
And then I want to give a big shout out to the Keyracken players. Finally, we want to have a shout out to the trio that bested our Keyracken Invictus Challenge. Self-proclaimed the band took down the Keyracken at record speed in under 13 minutes.
Nice.
Seen holding their prizes. I'm going to butcher some names, so forgive me. Nick Simonelli, Joe Simonelli, and Greg Cousins. They didn't get a shout out at the closing ceremony, so I figured we'd shout them out here.
So it's got to be one of the two Simonellis, but the gentleman who's in the middle of that picture is actually the teacher from local in town. He was the one that I had met because he actually taught over in Japan. And I kid you not, every time I saw him, he was at the Keyracken area trying to go ahead and take it down. I never saw him play a single game of anything else.
Hey, some people just like the Keyracken, man.
But that's what I was talking about. It was really interesting because this was an area that didn't necessarily jump out to me as, oh, I want to go and play the Keyracken. But there are certain people that's what they saw. They were super excited by it. And I thought it was really interesting. But good job, guys.
I mean, I'm not going to deny, like, there are people who like the, what do you call those, co-op games?
Yeah, co-op. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Co-op.
people like the co-op. I don't like the co-op. They're not for me. I'm not going to say they don't have a place, but it's just not for me. Not something I enjoy. Maybe with the next one. I do like Grim Reaper. But let's get into the next little bit of news. Ghost Galaxies, publisher of
Ghost
Keyforge.
Galaxy.
Ghost Galaxy. Can they just add an S to their name? Have I asked for this already? Can they just add so I could?
Well,
it's
maybe
easier
if
for me
you
to
get
say?
a job.
Yeah, maybe this is your first contribution.
Yeah. So there is a position open for tabletop game designer.
Developer.
Stop it.
There's a whole paragraph about the difference in the application.
I understand. Developer. I'm reading it as I'm going along, so therefore that is my fault. Would you like me to read it? There's a distinct difference between a developer and a designer. Yes, a game developer.
I found it very interesting.
Yes, a game developer, you will be working to refine, improve, expand, and innovate upon existing game designs or designs in progress by designers. The role will generally not entail the ground-up design of new games. Responsibilities for the role. So I just want to say I put my hat into the ring for this. Why not, right? Never know. Develop new game elements. Primarily cards, mechanics, content, and methods of play for existing game lines such as Keyforge, as well as new games created by Ghost Galaxies. I think I can do that. Galaxies. Develop new storylines and lore for game lines. Don't know if I'm creative enough to write, but I could probably work it out. Assemble prototypes. Sounds like arts and crafts to me, which I love. JR, you got my
finger paint.
I was gonna say you got my finger paint and my glue my Elmer's glue I can stick my fingers in so I can glue stuff down.
Yes.
Perfect. Test tabletop game products under development for fun, balance, quality, and fit for purpose. What do you guys? I think I might struggle with this one.
It's a pretty
yes.
important aspect of the job.
It is. I balance for winsies.
Maybe you shouldn't have said that one on the mic, but okay.
Let's see, where did I leave off? Create art and graphics, graphic briefs for development by third-party contractors. Recruit and direct third-party playtesters.
Uh-oh.
What? I'm a manager now. I manage people all the time. This is the same.
Look out. Yeah? I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about them.
Write game rules and rules-related information, such as FAQs and development diaries for publication to the public.
You have to delegate that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very good at delegating. Where was I? Assist game designers with development, prototyping, and testing of new games. Represent the company at industry conventions, trade shows, and other major events. Look, I'm a spectacle, okay? If you want people to come...
Is this like your interview that you're trying to give right now?
Listen, if you want the fun, you come to the Wookiee, okay?
You didn't know the difference between game developer and game designer, and it was listed in the role section.
Number one, I do know. Number two, I just used the wrong word. God. I mess up my words.
Point of the paragraph.
I mess up my words sometimes. It happens. You ever use the wrong word? Happened to me. Let's see. Stay
I
attuned.
think you skipped one on purpose. It was write and maintain development documentation and maintain database of
skip?
game. I'm reading.
He's reading.
Okay.
And maintain a database of game components for future reference. So
I
you got to
did skip
maintain a
that
database and write development documentation.
I can do that. I document
Probably spelled correctly.
well, I mean, spelling is not my strong suit. This is why I quote unquote hired our social media director, which is Witchy Panda, for all of you who didn't know, who also did the intro for our last show.
Very nice.
Okay, now I've completely lost my place. Represent the okay, stay attuned to the hobby gaming industry, analyze trends, and help Ghost Galaxy become an innovation leader. I just like those Ghost Galaxies. Just flies off the tongue. So easy.
Innovative.
That's what I said. Innovative leader. But either way, I do this for funsies anyways. I give good ideas all the time. Commit to continuous improvement in all aspects of your work. That's me right there. Be an excellent team member who communicates effectively, accepts and gives constructive feedback, and upholds all company values. Now, I would have liked a little snapshot of the company values, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure I could find that on their website. All positions at Ghost Galaxy are hands-on and expected to engage in diverse range of projects and tasks, some tedious or menial, as may be necessary for well-being and positive trajectory of the company. I love getting coffee. Just saying.
Getting coffee.
I love getting coffee,
John.
donuts.
What about folding all of the new Winds of Exchange boxes?
Hey, I'm
that
in.
are going to be used.
I'm in. I got good hands. These meaty sausage fingers are good for something. All right. To be a successful candidate, you must be passionate about the game, the creative process, and putting fun things into the world. Additionally, you embody all or most of the following skills and traits. Experience with tabletop game development and tabletop games in general. I have experience.
Good thing they said most.
Yeah.
Can you tell me specific experience, Sir Candidate Wookiee?
Well, let's go to point 2. Creative thinker and problem solver. Able to combine, extend, and extract game concepts into new expressions that will expand and enrich existing game designs.
You
Like
did come
unbanning
up with the
Bane's-
alliance format.
I did, and we're gonna unban or we're gonna unnerf bait and switch.
I think you're
That's
immediately
the whole
fired.
play.
Pester
Fires.
Groves and Heart of the Forest for everyone.
Why is Pester Grove in every set? I don't know. It's weird.
This weird token creature called Pester Grove.
It's Heart of the Forest. That's your token. Ability to think abstractly about new game concepts or ideas in context of the whole design and existing body of components. In doing so, anticipate conflicts with existing elements, identify nomenclature. Don't make fun of me. Inconsistencies and assess game balance problems, and provide ideas and actions to elegantly fix such roadblocks, like unbanning bait and switch. You take critique and rejection with a positive professional attitude. These will happen frequently in a creative environment, both internally and externally from playtesters and players. Proficient
People on
in
this podcast.
yeah, just live on air. Why not? Proficient in technical writing for tabletop games, allow you to write games rules, effects, and mechanics in clear, lucid way. Basic graphic design and page layout skills. I'm a little lacking there. That's why I have Cloggin. web content creation. Hey, preferably with tools such as WordPress, Avada are a plus. I don't know what Avada is. I know I've used WordPress, but I've never used Avada.
Before the interview.
I've never used Avada. I'm assuming it's very similar to WordPress. Is it not?
I don't know.
Oh, have you ever heard of it?
No, but this also not.
This is my first time actually hearing of it.
For WordPress and WooCommerce.
Yeah, is it just? I think it's a WooCommerce thing.
Yeah.
All right, back to where we were. Excellent verbal communication. I wrote a podcast, boys. Excellent verbally communicating. I have no experience in the tabletop publishing industry at all. Not even a little bit. But I do have knowledge and affinity for Keyforge.
Big plus.
Big plus. Big plus.
Yes, big plus.
In fact, we can cover up most of the things I am not proficient in by my knowledge and affinity for Keyforge.
Are you willing to move you and your family to Ghost Galaxy offices in Roseville, Minnesota?
It's possible. It's possible.
Because there is no remote or work from home positions.
I mean, it's possible. The Wookiee could move. There's not much difference in between Minnesota and Wisconsin. They're about the same.
Pretty cold.
They're both cold. That's it.
It does offer a competitive salary with a non-disclosed number of value.
It does say that. That is a little concerning to me. That is a little concerning when they're just like, just competitive salary, profit sharing, paid time off, health insurance, but hey, product discount, guys.
But then you can't play in anything.
I mean, let's be honest. I'm not playing anything now.
It's a small company, right?
Nothing that matters.
You should ask for shares.
I didn't top. I wasn't like top 8 in anything.
I mean,
are they not allowed to play in anything?
I doubt it.
I mean, I would too.
Because it comes down to like it comes down to
fun.
Like marketing optics, right? Like if your own person makes the top 8, even if you don't award them prizing, you're taking away prizing for someone
from somebody else.
Yeah, it's just real bad optics to play in your own events.
I'll just play in all the Unchained events.
There you go.
I'll just be like Z, just post it up outside of the actual hall. Just, hey, have you played Unchained yet? Let's play.
Yep.
Pretty sure he dragged someone over by their leg to play Unchained, but
I did track some people down. Like, let's go. Throw my Pokeball down. Let's go. I challenge you.
Who's that guy over there? Have I played you in Unchained yet? No? Let's play. Well, I'm good. I said let's play. But that's the new job. If you want, you can email your resume over to info@ghostgalaxies.com.
Well, hold on. That's not what it says. What does it actually say in to apply a Wookiee?
Yeah, send a cover letter and resume to info@ghostgalaxies.com. I was just about getting there. Thank you for reminding me. Make sure you send a cover letter. Some of us didn't
remember to do that part.
Some of us didn't read the instructions well. I was doing it at work, actually, like while I was working.
The best way to get your application thrown out. Word advice. Don't follow the directions that you're applying.
I definitely wasn't squandering company time. That didn't happen. It was on my phone.
I would love to see a document developed and maintained by you.
I have my resume, which is a document developed and maintained by me.
I mean, for the Ghost Galaxies, as you have on the letterhead.
First thing we're doing, we're sharpieing that S, just to make all my other mistakes correct. Just sharpieing.
I get to see it now. GALAXYS.
Yeah, we're just gonna sharpie it in. Let's do it. That way I'll be right. Who will look real dumb afterward on this whole thing? Not me. It'll be like, oh, it's been that way all along. Who knew? I did.
I do notice that the document is dated July 19th, 2022.
It sure is.
So does this mean they've already hired somebody and now they're getting another one? Or
my assumption is this is a template. Yeah, that's my assumption.
Yeah, they uploaded their marketing hiring template. They didn't change the footer because no one ever remembers there's a date there.
Mm-hmm.
And they filled in the
except for Drascore.
Yep.
All right.
Maybe Wookie would have remembered to change that date. Maybe.
Probably
go.
not.
Maybe.
Probably not. I did balance my trust this morning. It went quite well.
Cool.
Yeah. All the money was in line. Maybe they need a accounting person. Do you think I can beat out?
I mean, if this became like an OP job position, I might be applying, but it would take something like that for me to consider moving to Minnesota.
I mean, that for you that'd be a big move. For me, that's like not that big.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking literally across the country. For me,
I mean, you could have X-Ray pick you up and drive you there.
Every day.
Yeah.
Like every Monday, X-Ray, you're gonna drive me. Then you can come back and pick me up every Saturday.
But don't worry, Friday night there's a tournament every week, so you can just come play.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
I think he'd do it.
Dude, if I was there would be a tournament every day.
But what are you guys feeling post feels on Winds of Exchange? Where are you guys at with it? Have you tinkered and toyed with it a little bit after Keyforge Live?
So yeah, I've played a little bit, right? So when I got back from Keyforge Live, I had to move, right? We were just talking about moving, so that took up a whole bunch of time.
To Minnesota?
No. Just
Oh.
up the road, like 10 minutes, but still,
I know.
it's still a big deal to move 10 minutes. But I did. We've settled in. I've got my game room operational now, and had one of my locals over who got Snoozy there in the chat. So she came over and we just threw down some Winds of Exchange, traded decks back and forth. It was a good time. It's I definitely enjoyed the set, just playing all day, and saw potential in a lot of the cards that were out there, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about the set.
Right on. JR, I know you got to play a little bit, you and Sheep. What did you guys meet up on Saturday?
Yeah, we ended up meeting up on Saturday. That's just when it worked out for us, and had a couple different decks. We didn't go ahead and really scout them ahead of time. Just wanted to see how they played. Sheep opened a deck, I opened a deck, and then we just played a game, and then we switched. And we actually ended up taking 2 apiece. So it was interesting. It was interesting to be able to see some of the mechanics, kind of how the decks played. There was a blorb for a 3rd key that happened. So that yeah.
I do not have Blorb yet. Oh, I want to play Blorb.
So it's interesting. I think that Blorb for a final key is actually viable. Like it's one of those things like when you know you're facing MMR, like to keep the board down, or when you're going ahead and facing Obsidian Forge, like, okay, you got to keep the creature count down. So I think in that manner with the deck, and the deck did spit out a ton of token creatures. If your deck that you're facing will pit a lot of token creatures, there's a unique way to be able to play Blorb so that it becomes viable. But I don't see it as what I initially thought of, hey, we can go ahead and pull multiple keys. So key 1, 2, and 3. I think to cheat out a key is definitely viable, though.
Really? I'm sorry. I was thinking about, just like, I just did not see any Blorb happen. I played a couple Unchained games against Blorb, and it was like everyone, maybe people were too focused on it at the time. Like, oh, Blorb,
but you said
Blorb,
Unchained, right?
It was Unchained, but I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much most of the Unchained decks were just WoW decks, more or less. I mean, there was
But they make less tokens on average because they have less.
Do they?
WoW
Yeah.
cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, every non-WoW card is a non-token card.
I saw a lot of people just struggling to get them online.
Oh yeah, I definitely had one that was just real bad. Like it had 1 power Unchained creature, and it would just all it was all anti-synergy with each other. It just had lots of ways to like kill your own guys basically and not do much to your opponent and not really help you. It was not so good.
Well, I think Blorb and Amberlin actually are way more dependent on the amount of token generation in the deck than any other token we have.
Yes.
Like most of the other tokens have an intrinsic value because they can like reap other than Strange Shelf just straight sucks. There's just no redeeming factor there. But those 2 tokens, like, they're entirely based on, like, if I can generate a ton of tokens, at some point I'm going to get to reap the reward for it. Whereas the other ones, if you generate even like half the number of tokens you need for that, you're going to get some value periodically through the game.
I just wonder. I wonder how the tokens. And I got to go look at all my decks. I don't remember all the decks I got and all the tokens I got, and I haven't really been able. I think there's still one unopened in there. I don't think I opened it or not. Yeah, wow. I got one, and I just didn't. I didn't end up open. I opened. Well, I guess 90% of them. Yeah, I mean, we opened. Yeah, we opened. I opened my 3 and my 2. Yeah, so I opened the 5. I just have the one remaining that I did a trade for, with Philly. He wanted a Power Rangers deck, and I got a Power Rangers deck. So I was like, "Well, that's give me your Wings of Exchange."
That's funny that you talk about Power Rangers because that was the other. The Blorb deck actually had Power Rangers in it as well, and that hurt it quite a bit. Yes, that was part of my Alliance sealed. Like, I kid you not, that was part of the Alliance sealed. It was real bad. But with the Power Rangers, if you can go ahead and get your big nasty out, the other pilots not listen, the other pilots not being able to take damage becomes a problem. The deck that we were using didn't have the creature control to remove your large. I think it's 6 power 4 armor that's there.
Mm-hmm. Called the Nautilician.
Correct.
Yeah, not the Zord.
Correct.
Crapalixian, more like.
Well, it is. I mean, we definitely talked about we would have loved to have seen a reap effects that comes with it. But having a couple of the aeronauts that are there. So green aeronaut, action, a friendly Nautilian gains splash attack 3 for the remainder of the turn. And didn't do anything as an action, and you're literally gaining 3. Purple aeronauts, after 4 friendly pilot creatures are used in the same turn, a friendly Nautilian gains after fight. To have all 4 of them out, it was just too easy to kill one of them, and so that had no effect.
That's never going to happen.
Correct.
Like, just straight never going to happen.
So what immediately happened for Sheep and I is White Aeronaut was hit right away, and that was action, ward, and fully heal a friendly Nautilian. Just to be able to, if you were able to drop it, that's fine. And then the red aeronaut, search your deck and discard pile for a Nautilian. That had some value because you could then, search for it and play it. But it was a little too dependent on what can you get. And again, just like any other creature, if your opponent has C to remove, doesn't matter if you're 100 power, 100 armor.
But it's even worse than that. Like, this is a 5-card combo. One of these cards is going to become a token. Like, straight up. The math behind one of them not becoming a token during any one game is actually really bad.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like, this creature.
And Nautilian was the 6 power 4 armor. So Nautilian cannot be used unless you have used 1 or more friendly Mars creatures this turn, which is a bummer because you can just get rid of the other one. If Nautilian's out, though, they are protected a bit because each friendly pilot creature cannot be dealt damage or destroyed. I would have liked to have seen more pilot creatures that were in this set, but to be honest, after playing the Power Rangers, I'm glad there aren't. So yes. I'm you're sad when you see it, and I'm kind of like, let's just leave it.
If you can't remember how to say its name, just remember it's not good. So
hold on, there are plenty of Equidon creatures we can't say their name.
Yeah, but they are good, so you need to keep trying.
Get good, boy. I just every time I think like we're headed in the right direction, cards like that are printed, and I'm like, well, maybe we're not. Like, I understand like, bad cards need to be printed, but like this was rough.
I've always been okay with like the bad chase card, but like I'm kind of salty about this one because like Mars, other than Jinka, has been a rough set in set 1 and set 2. Because, like, Jinka alone does not make a house good. It's just one gimmick thing that the playtesters probably didn't even realize was a thing. Because of just the number of decks printed for playtesting.
Right.
Like, for this to be, they're like, this is, like, worse than Horsemen. This is, like, people even love the Plague Rats more than I think this will like people like this. Like the not Elixian, as far as the way the ultimate combo that it's trying to do is to get that purple arrow not to fire. I literally don't ever see that happening. Like if that ever happens in a single game, like I don't know what would have happened.
It's an unlocked gold medal. I mean, you have unlocked a very special feature there.
Yeah, that would be like one of those hidden achievements on Steam. Like it just wasn't expected to ever actually happen. And that for that to be the end all of this combo, like it's rough. It's real, and we're just talking about even in sealed play not happening. Like if you even try to take this to something in a competitive field where Furnace exists, it's hella never going to happen. Like it's like this could literally say they forge a key with this action and it wouldn't change the value of this card because it's just never going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't know about all
so
that.
Free key, not good enough.
Free key, not good enough?
It's not going to happen.
No, because you have to have too many cards.
Yeah.
5-card combo and you have tokens just hitting the field randomly? No.
So the other two tokens that we played around with quite a bit were Senator, the Saurian, 2-power, action, keys cost +1 during your opponent's next turn. It just didn't really play out well for us. You could tax. I think we taxed for 1 or 2, each of us, a couple of the different games. And to extend for a key was okay. But it just, as an action, it wasn't progressing your game. And it were too easy, too flimsy to be able to kill. But the other card that did actually have quite a bit of value was Cleric. So Sanctum, 1 power. After Cleric enters play, capture 1 amber. And that really offered quite a bit of amber control in the deck that we were playing. And so you're just throwing clerics out. And when you could get 2 to 3 clerics consistently on a turn, it provided a really interesting choice because you can kill the cleric. If you don't, you have potential just to be able to reap with it. But
I know a pretty cool combo with Cleric.
Yeah, go for it.
So Cleric enters play, captures an amber. There's obviously other ways to capture amber on your Sanctum dudes. But there's a Star Alliance card, so it does require another house to combo with it. There are a lot of great stuff in Star Alliance, but this would be super cool. Temporal Purge, you gain an amber, play, flip each token creature face up, put each non-creature card flipped this way into its owner's discard pile. So that just means literally every single token you have in the game, because you have the Cleric, is crushing amber as soon as you play the Temporal Purge, because we got the rules back when we didn't know a single card that could flip. We have the rules that when you flip a creature with amber on it, the amber goes in the common supply. So there is actually some pretty interesting like combo use cases for Cleric in relation to cards that say flip, and Temporal Purge is the best one for flipping over all of your Cleric. So that could be pretty cool, because that's just a lot of crush. Because if you're making a ton of tokens, and some of these decks do make a ton of tokens, you can just immediately crush all that amber, and then you gain access to all of the things that are actually creatures.
I know it's going back a little bit, Wookie, but when you were talking about the key forging, what a celebration we had, I did find the information, like they had all of the decks that made top 8, but looking at the Alliance Sealed, they actually listed the token creatures. So Dave Cordero's top winning deck was Diplomat. You had Berserker for Cloggin. You had Amberling for Dominic Mack. You had Brobner Warrior for Nova. Ellen had Bellatorn Warrior. You had the Cleric for Peter. Sweaty Zach actually ran Cadets and then had switched to Senator. And then you can see Warrior was brought up for Real Player 1. So I thought that was interesting for the Alliance Seal that they listed the tokens. I almost wish that I would have been able to see what the tokens were for the Archon Sealed as well. That was not listed. But again, larger bodies in most of those creatures, token creatures specifically.
And if I remember correctly, because I actually played Dave, I don't remember him making a lot of token creatures. Like most of his decks, he just had like, oh, I don't care what this card does, but it has, because there's no Infernus in set and there's no, big swing cards really. I mean, there's a few, but not a ton. It was just, I play lots and lots of Ember. which
Yeah,
and sealed is it's a pretty good strategy,
And I do want to say Zach had talked about his deck. Was it 20 or 22 printed amber that was in his? So that is definitely something when you have a very, very high amount of amber, whether that's 20 or above.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Dave got very fortunate with where his pips landed. I mean, I remember he took a fish house turn and was like, here's 3 ember, here's 3 ember, here's 2 ember, pass. Like the cards literally did nothing, but it was like, here's, oh wow, 7 ember or 8 ember all in that one turn. Well, that's the thing that exists. So I don't remember it. I don't know if it came out to play later on at all. I wasn't really paying attention, but yeah, most of those are your bigger, beefier critters.
Yep.
So, I mean, and it's kind of at least what we felt went along kind of with it.
Yeah, I mean, if he has the diplomat, right, it's a 1 power token creature,
yep.
right? So in some ways, not surprising, it wasn't that big an impact. And in our games we were playing over the weekend of WoW, we saw similar things, right? The 1 power tokens often didn't do much.
Yep.
Right? We actually, I think there was one game we played where the trader actually did okay. The action steal 1 destroy trader.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was more of a matchup thing. It's just the deck that Sneezy was playing at that time just didn't have that much C, and so I was able to just steal a bunch that way. But for the most part, right, I wasn't really able to use the researcher. They would just die, or before I could omni them even. So 1 power still not that great.
And that's a real bad feel too, because you're taking a card out of your deck. You don't know what it is, to make that token creature, to just have it die. I don't know. It feels bad.
Well, I think you need to have some true value. Sheep and I cracked open and kind of looked over the other decks, and one of the decks that I put in for Tuesday has cadets. And so 1 power Star Alliance destroyed Ready Cadet's most powerful neighbor. You're like, but why? But with Gross and Hings in that deck, I think that it can be pretty reliable to have it fire. And actually to have multiple tokens out, you could fire that multiple times. So
sure.
it gets pretty interesting, and we're going to have to think a little bit differently about some of these tokens and what we're getting from them, or what we're hoping to get from them, and how to be able to play around them. So I'm interested. I want to keep playing.
I think Cadet's going to end up mediocre. There's going to be some decks that can use them, and then there's going to be a lot of decks that just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I still think it's hilarious that autocannon is in this set. Like it just like all those tokens are just dead on play.
How many 1 power didn't you count how many 1 power token creatures there were in a set?
I did it one time. So like the merchants have 3, the Mars has 2, Sanctum has
14 total.
Only 1 really.
I
guess
14?
Disciple.
Well, there's 14 1 power, but technically Strange Shell has the armor, so 13 that will 13? Die with autocannon. Yep.
Yeah, 13 will just straight up die to autocannon. That's half of them, effectively.
Right. I was gonna say that's quite a number to just die.
I was like, oh, you have Lorb autocannon, GG. Like it's really, really funny that.
I know Sheep's like autocannons are rare, and I'm like, yeah, it's true, but Brobnar is also a thing. And if I get autocannon, I'm not like terribly sad. I mean, I'm not happy, but I'm not terribly sad, especially in sealed. I'm definitely not sad.
In rare or not, like we know the numbers for singular rares. I think it's like 2.25%. So like you're gonna have a ton of autocannons. It's gonna be there. Like once you hit 50,000 decks, there's a ton of decks with autocannon, right? Like it's just hilarious that because like you think before, like okay, you got to go all the way back to Coda to get this autocannon answer to these decks. Nope, it's just in set.
Right in
here
set.
We go. Nope, don't need the legacy. It's just here.
Yeah,
like go for it.
WoW seems just to be such a strange set overall. Just because it's like cards we were like, yeah, we're definitely not going to see that, and then it's like, oh wait, nope, it's here. Never mind.
Oh, they also have Pingle. So there's actually
Pingle's
two
around
different.
too, yeah.
there's 2 different 2.5% chances, and Pingle's in on me only.
Yep.
It's just hilarious.
Pingle's
It's really,
floating
really
around
funny.
too.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for us this week, guys. We'll get some more news for you next week. If not, we'll figure something out. Always stuff to talk about with the Keyforge. So we'll see y'all next week.
Happy fortune, everybody.
Peace.
May the Forge be with you.
I'm king of the clouds, of the